okay? I don't have an issue with that term. I don't think it's a problem because at varying points in people's lives, your mental can get out of order. The issue when you don't acknowledge that it is a mental disorder and you instead just insist that like this is a normal thing and people are born this way means it becomes impossible to attack that person. Ideologically speaking, if you start making laws and saying this is real, then that guy who says I'm 63 years old and I believe that I am 12 on the inside, I never grew up, this is who I am, Peter Pan, send me to Neverland, and he molests another girl and he goes into the courtroom and he says, no, I'm 13. Objective reality is what
Neverland
I feel, right? It's how I feel on the inside. And I actually, Your Honor, feel that I'm actually 16.
That's against the law.
Now, here's
the realization of me feeling trans was when I was 4. And my mum told me this when I got older because I'd verbalized to her basically that I was comparing myself to my older sister, and because I have an older sister and 2 younger now. And just feelings and displaying certain things. And I won't obviously get into every detail because I'll try to summarize, but basically growing up in Perth, it was an experience that I had to take on alone. My parents and family were kind of from the country, West Australia, and had no idea about anything to do with trans or the LGBTQ. And we've got to remember, because this was 20 years ago and in Australia, the journey was completely on my own back. So everything that I felt and resonated with, it was up to me to do the research. Everything that I'd seen on the TV was sensationalized and kind of crazy. And we all know, the viewers listening, what I'm talking about, the misrepresentations and things like that. So yeah, it was a very lonely journey. You only have to talk to someone in the community to know that I was a trailblazer for what I did, because I was literally basically the only one for a while.
It says this was always there.
Yeah.
Because I have young children and I know how stupid kids are, and I say that with all love in my heart, but they say ridiculous things all the time. And one of the things that's been concerning to me is to hear so many celebrities try to, I guess, validate the stupidity of children and pretending and going, well, this must be real. Most notably what comes to mind, I believe Charlize Theron had a daughter or a son, but the story goes, one day in the bathtub, my son or daughter looked up at me and said, Mommy, I'm a girl. And that was it. That Charlize Theron then allowed her child to begin transitioning. And that to me sounds like a mental disorder that the parent is suffering for some reason. And a lot of the times I've noticed this trend that it does tend to be single women that sort of encourage this thing. Your son was in a bathtub and your son said anything in the bathtub, Dad, I'm a mermaid. Why would you then say, well, this must really mean that my 4-year-old toddler, who also thinks he can fly, who also thinks like Santa Claus is real and can squeeze down the chimney, why is it this thing that people go, oh, well, this must be a sign that my child's really struggling with identity? All been 17 before, we've all been teenagers. I would almost say that you could qualify the teenage experience as just an identity crisis, like one long identity crisis. You're trying to figure out literally who you are.
Yeah.
That is what adolescence is. And that's why I say, quite jokingly, but kind of also seriously, bring back cigarettes, because now there are just an explosion of children who think they're non-binary, think they're transgendered. No matter how you estimate it, you know that there were not this many people that were struggling, and like, they didn't all become transgendered. And so it is, part of this is becoming a contagion, social contagion,
You think?
Well, social contagion is real, right? So if you see me smoking cigarettes, so everybody starts smoking cigarettes. I mean, that was the reason why cigarettes got popular. You put
But
someone on a
sometimes
poster.
when you hit the cigarette and you try to smoke it, you can't inhale it, so you cough. Like,
yeah, but we stomped out cigarettes. So there used to be, the majority of people in America were smoking cigarettes, and it was because of advertising, right? So people were looking, the doctors were telling them it was healthy. That
smoke on the plane.
Exactly. So that used to be a thing in America. And then to dial it back, they did the exact thing, reverse marketing. And we were suddenly learning in school, everyone did the DARE program, and they kind of stomped out cigarette smoking.
With the dog.
Yeah, they kind of they stomped out cigarette smoking in America. And that's actually a joke that Europeans make. Americans don't smoke cigarettes. And so we know that advertising works. We know that you can influence behavior. And that's why I say bring back cigarettes, because now I feel that when the kids were trying to rebel against their parents when we were young, people were like smoking cigarettes, maybe smoking a joint. Now they're like, I'm non-binary, and kind of being sent down this pathway, which for those who really are just struggling with adolescence, there isn't really a way back. So if your child came to you at 17, Ray J, and said, I am born into the wrong body and I want to take puberty blockers, what would you say?
Yeah.
At the same time that you're saying that you were able to make this mature decision
Yeah.
to go under the knife or to recognize that you were not a male, I guess would be, if I hope I'm
Yeah.
okay. You're also admitting that you did something kind of childish, right? I mean, to say I need big boobs because I'm a
Being
girl,
childish.
that I wouldn't do that. I'm an actual woman,
Right,
right?
right,
So I
right.
wouldn't do that because that just sounds to me like someone who's playing dress up. Like that just
Oh
sounds
no,
to
it's
me
definitely
like
not.
because
Like, it wasn't a
but
costume.
that is because the first thing if you genuinely thought like this is who I am, the first thing you do is get boobs. That's
Right.
to me just like this is what it means to be a girl.
Right. But we're talking
it's
about
very
surgically the first
right,
thing
but
I did.
that to me is a costume because
Yeah.
women have all different breast size. There are some women that are
For sure.
completely pancakes, some women that
Right.
have huge boobs.
I got a new song
But
coming
that-
out
but-
called Titty for Me.
Stop.
So no, it's all
But
kinda
that's
different.
why I take ownership over the fact that what I'm saying is not being a costume and not copying anyone or anything like that. It was a decision made by me that I thought I needed, and it wasn't any deep regret. It was just later on I was like, I just don't need that size
Right.
because I knew I needed. But the thing is, we have to be specific that my own friends that are born female have the same thing. Like my best friend literally hates her
No.
implants,
Yeah,
but
getting
she's
breasts
not a
is-
No,
costume.
but she's doing that for a different reason, and this kind of gets to my point. You said that after, and I want to slow this down because I'm making a point that I'd like you to understand. You said that once you realized that you were a female, you felt that you were a female,
Yeah,
and
my
you were in
whole
the wrong body.
Mhm.
The first thing you did was do something that does not make someone a female, right? That you just were like, I'm gonna get boobs. So that to me shows a tremendous immaturity, right? Now, when other women do this, they're just like, I want to look like Kim Kardashian. This is a trend. Da, da, da,
But
da.
why am
But they're
I
not
not
doing it
fussed?
because they're going, I'm not a woman. Do you get what I'm
No,
But
I
saying?
what's
get
the-
it,
but
but
what's
it
the
is though
difference?
because my best friend literally got implants because she and I quote, she was like, I feel like a boy because I've got no boobs.
Some women
That's
want
literally
bigger
what she
breasts, and some
said.
people I don't mind little breasts or big breasts, but women want to
And
go
that's
get
what they
so,
say.
Right, but
so-
they're doing
They
that
attach it
because
to
it's
masculinity.
but you're saying masculinity and femininity are two different things. They
Right.
don't attach it to whether or not they are in fact they would never go to the doctor and say, if I don't get these boobs,
Right.
I'm a male.
No, but
Right,
I
but
didn't
you
think
did
that.
the-
I was talking about aesthetically pleasing. That was my point.
But that
like,
that
oh my gosh, I
actually-
love
well,
that.
that
want
once,
the breasts
yeah, that's
feel
fine.
like they
That's fine. I
they-
just want to say this.
But it's
That to
never a
me
costume for
is
me.
to me that's a costume, and that's why I call, and this is why I feel that it's woman face. It's an idea. It's like this is what I believe women are because I'm scrolling through, and I'm giving you a modern example. Obviously, Instagram was not around when you were doing this. I'm scrolling through Instagram, and I think that the hottest girl on Instagram is Sophia Richie. So what do I have to do to look like Sophia Richie, and that's going to make me a woman? That to me is woman face, right? That doesn't make, so yes, you're saying there's aesthetics to it, and that is the reason why you will see women all across LA. It's like
Exactly.
standard
For
practice.
me, it was
They will
the
get there.
aesthetic of it.
It's but
Yeah,
it's
I
the
mean,
aesthetic.
different
of it.
countries like different things too.
Exactly, for me, once again, because I can only speak from a personal point of view, it was the aesthetic of it. Just like my girlfriend, like I stated, that's how she felt as a born female. But the costume for me, because you're using that, and that is something that gets thrown around in our community, I want to specify how I see the costume because I actually agree with that terminology, and I hate when people treat being trans like a costume because they do it, but it's just not in that scenario. A costume to me is how I specified before, where people are going around saying I'm trans and they want to reap the benefits of being a trans, let's say, activist or getting jobs as a trans spokesperson, whatever it may be. And then you see them at the corner store and it's like literally like, whoa, did you detransition overnight? That's what I see as a costume.
So they went back to being.
Well, it's just what she said. It can be a costume, but for me, this isn't a costume. I can't rip it all off. I know I'm in glam now because I love glam and, you know, I like to feel and look good, smell good, whatever. But at home, no makeup on, hair up in a bun is giving woman, is giving what it is.
To be clear, it is plausible. Very, very, very small minority of people who are literally born hermaphrodites.
Yeah,
You're
it's
correct.
a small percentage.
That is considered a genetic anomaly, right? So something goes wrong and you can be born with two parts, that something has gone wrong.
But why
The
can't it just be
issue-
right for that
Yeah,
person?
because I feel like wrong is
Well, genetic
wrong's an
anomalies
interesting
happen.
word.
Like if everything
But
goes
isn't that
right,
God?
if
Like if me
everything-
and her was attached together, are we wrong?
See,
well,
I
yeah,
feel
but
like
that is also when
Yes,
something goes wrong. This is
Simon.
why like
I
Siamese
don't
twins,
know
and
if- I
they
don't
have
know
to
if
have these
wrong is the right
surgeries, and
word.
their organs can be mixed, and it's a
Yeah,
it's a
I don't
risk.
think
think it's
wrong
It
is
is,
the
but
right
something
word, though.
goes wrong when somebody is born
But why is
intersex.
it wrong?
I
Because
don't think
it's
it's
like,
wrong. I
but
think
we
it's
all
just
believe,
unique.
yeah, we all believe that
Because I
God
seen a
created
snake and it had
us.
2 heads.
But I feel like that could also
Or a cow
be
that had
that's
2
God's
heads together.
creation. Because I'm
not saying the person being alive is wrong. I am saying that genetically speaking, there are tons of things that can go wrong. It's like, people, when something happens because of who you're married to and your genes are lining up in a different way, and some people can be born
Special.
yeah,
blind in one eye.
yeah.
This,
I
that,
think
this, there are tons of things.
One of
that
my dogs
happen.
was blind, but
I think
he
that
was moving
people
around.
are people
know.
are born
He
different.
was biting people.
Okay, but
Yeah.
that is not, intersex is not transgenderism, because transgenderism, everything has gone just right. And at some point in that person's life, they just make a decision to say that I want to start living as this opposite sex that I was not born as. And that is why I say this is a mental disorder, okay? I don't view an intersex person as having a mental disorder.
But can
But
I
I
add
view,
to that,
but I
though?
view a transgendered individual as having a mental disorder. And I'll ask you a question. Is Rachel Dolezal black?
Pardon?
Is Rachel Dolezal black? Rachel Dolezal, if you're not familiar, is the woman who was wearing dark makeup and
I
was
don't.
leading the NAACP, had grown her hair out kinky into an afro, and then it turned out that her parents spoke out, and she's basically as white as they come, and she just was dressing every day as a black person and passing as black and leading the NAACP.
Yeah.
And
I
everyone in the
definitely-
community.
I don't know her, so I don't want to comment
no,
on that.
I want you to comment because
She was just what
very
she was
simple.
just
I
wearing.
feel like
Living
I know
as a
what.
black
So she
yeah.
was just wearing
Yeah,
makeup.
Yes, she was
I feel
wearing
like that's
makeup.
inappropriate, and I feel like going back to what you said before,
But
that
I
is a
just want-
perfect example of costuming.
Okay, well,
Because see how
so
every
that seems very unfair, and it feels judgmental, because to me, if you're going to say that you felt that despite the fact that you were born a male, that you felt on the inside that you were something else, and then you went through steps to present as that something else.
Right.
And then when I say, what about Rachel Dolezal? Rachel Dolezal says that she felt her whole life that she was born in the wrong skin color, and that these weren't really her parents, and like
Yeah.
she was black, and so she started presenting as black. I just don't see how you can be ideologically consistent, because no one will accept Rachel Dolezal because that's blackface. How could you say this? But you're sitting here like, well, I demand that I get, and I'm saying you as the larger community, because
Right.
I don't think you're being demanding at all
yeah.
in this moment. But it's just, do you see the
I get what-
hypocrisy
yeah,
of
I
saying
get-
that a woman can't
yeah.
just, like, why can't a
No,
white girl
I
say
get
she's
what
black?
you're saying. I get what you're saying, and I see how people would compare that.
Problematic. But there's a reason it shuts everything down, because it's not a tricky question. Like literally in 4 seconds, Rachel Dolezal said that she was black, that she lived this way. She had a great job at the NAACP fighting for black causes. Suddenly her parents speak out. Everyone can see that her parents are very white. And then they showed a picture of Rachel Dolezal. It turns out this is like a blonde-haired Scottish girl. I mean,
But what if she was around? What if she was around black people for all her life?
Well, that's my point, right? So, and the reason why you guys are struggling to answer this is because what it does is it
I'm not
presents.
struggling.
It
to
presents.
answer it.
Yeah, you said Rachel
I
Dolezal is not black.
Yeah, she's not black, and
And so
also
if
I
Rachel
feel like
Dolezal
it's
But if
was
she
sitting
said she
here,
was black,
but-
then she's black.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
and would I disrespect
Just like if I
her
want to
for
be
that?
called
No, that's
Killer
not
Poom
fine.
Poom,
So
y'all
at
gotta call
least-
me the name I want. 'Cause
At least you're being consistent. You're not being consistent. So at least you're saying
But I
that
don't
yes,
think
any
that's fair.
person can just say whatever they are, and we have to accept it. If they feel deep down and they went through middle school and they felt that they were black, then we
Right.
have to suddenly
But I'm
pretend.
not saying that I would disrespect her for saying, like, I wouldn't be like, you're not, because to be honest, that's got nothing to
But it's
do with
not
me. But if
disrespect,
you
it's just
ask the
reality,
question, it
and-
is costuming. And that's going back to what we said before, which is a major issue, is that the lines get blurred because of being a costume, and trans is not a costume. It's not a cloak. When I
And neither
take
is
this
black.
off, is that, but the thing is, once again, it still comes down to the individual scenario, and that is what it is. Because I want to say that the thing that I get thrown at me all the time, which people obviously think hurts me and it doesn't, it's laughable, is people are like, okay, you say you're trans, well, I'm a unicorn or I'm a cloud. I mean, it's ridiculous. How is it comparable?
Well,
I'm like, okay.
we do currently have children that are saying
I
that
wanna
they
be
are
a clown.
trans species, so that's a reality. There
Right.
are kids that are saying that they're cats,
And
that
I
they're
think that
dogs.
we have to respect it.
At least you're
Yeah.
being ideologically consistent. At least
We
you're being
have to,
consistent.
because
And that's fair.
it's
Like, I'm
20
not saying he's
like
wrong.
because
but you said
the-
Rachel Dolezal wasn't black.
because
No, but
Issue. They wouldn't have to comment on it. So Rachel Dolezal, I want to go back to that because this is a very important point, and I do feel you're peddling past because you realize this. It's
I know who
this is
that
this is
now.
I don't know.
this is how.
Flashing back.
Okay, well,
but
it
you
doesn't
kinda-
matter. Let's say any individual.
Yeah.
This is an individual who is committed and living as a black person when in fact they were born with parents that are whiter than
Yeah.
snow.
So nobody was black.
No, nobody, not
seen
even
something
a
similar,
drop
I think,
of,
yeah.
not even like
Ancestry didn't say
I'm
nowhere
pretty sure
in.
I've seen this
didn't
on like
even know,
Botched or something.
a
Yeah.
Spanish song. Probably never got listened to a Spanish song. There's not even a drop.
I know among the lines of what
Yes.
you're talking about, 'cause
Okay.
I think I've seen
You
it on Botched
instantly
or whatever.
said,
Yeah.
instantly said,
Yeah.
and have held to the point
Yes.
that Rachel Dolezal is not a
Yes.
black person. So if Rachel Dolezal is not a black person but believes
Mhm.
that she is a black person on the inside, what is Rachel Dolezal suffering from?
So for me personally, like I will say once again, because I don't know her story, but based on what you're telling me, I will go back to the point every time that what it sounds like is that she's costuming. That's what it is to me. If Rachel believes she's black, that's not only not my place to comment on. I don't know that girl, so it doesn't bother me. But if someone doesn't believe in what she's doing is right, if it's publicized or whatever, that's their opinion. But do I think that she has a mental disorder? My answer is, who am I to even comment on that?
Yeah,
Because
like,
I'm
I
not a
think that-
psychologist.
Let me just
I
finish.
have no
with this.
idea.
Okay. I agree with you about Rachel
Yeah.
Dolezal. She is costuming.
Right.
But does she have a mental disorder?
Yeah.
If you are living your life as something that you are not, and you believe inside of you that you are this,
Right.
she's not hurting anybody, but she is suffering
Okay.
from a mental disorder.
Now,
okay,
I
and now
know
this is
somebody
where
that
this is
suffers
where
from-
things get tricky. So, you and Rachel Dolezal are actually embodying the exact same thing, right? Both
No.
of you believe.
I was like,
ra-
please
it's
don't
ra-
say
it's race and
Candace.
gender.
Please don't put me in that box.
It's race and
but
gender.
that
Come
anybody
on.
watching this is going, this is a very valid
Yeah.
point. Both
But I
of you
don't think it's
believe that you
valid.
are something that you are not, and you have gone through extremities to live as something that you are not.
That's a
You're not, but
costume.
I
this
think-
is a costume, and that's my point. What everything
Trans
you
is
are
not a
saying to
costume.
Rachel Dolezal, you could say to yourself.
That,
I don't
that,
think
Right?
so,
Rachel
because-
Dolezal could share a story. Let me just get this out. Rachel Dolezal could share a story and say, you know, from the time I was a kid when I was 4, my mom looked down at me and said that you were showing characteristics of being black. And then when I was in school, everyone was like, Rachel, kind of like, you know, one of the
But
black
she was kind of
people.
thick too, right?
Yeah, Rachel was
was.
kind of thick.
That's what I'm saying. I remember.
Yeah.
No, I
And
do.
the
I
whole
like,
thing
like,
was
like, so I'm
hey,
like, okay.
you gotta,
No, I'm
you know,
saying,
you seem like a
no.
black girl.
I
And then
remember- I
next
know
thing you
Rachel.
know, Rachel at 17 years old was going to Christian school and was like, you know what? I'm ready to do the first thing. And so Rachel went and got her hair cornrowed.
So she said she was mixed.
She got her hair cornrowed.
She just
She said
didn't
she was
like
mixed.
No,
me.
and then she started wearing the makeup, getting tanned, all this stuff. And then next thing you know, Rachel Dolezal fully believed.
Right.
And so I'm out here like, justice for Rachel Dolezal, because if you're out here saying that you're a woman, then Rachel Dolezal has every right to be a black person. And the reason why Rachel Dolezal, that case study makes you uncomfortable is because it hits the truth. It hits an objective reality, which is that you cannot just say because you're willing to get surgery or because you're willing to do your hair a certain way or that you're willing to wear makeup that you are something that you're not. Now, that said, I don't have an issue. Like, there's nothing that you're doing. And I think that this is where, like, it gets mixed up, where people pretend there's some attack happening or we're saying that, you know, you need to be put into camps. No, I think actually you're a very nice person. You're just not a woman, and you're never going to be a woman.
And
but
I know that.
Right,
And that's
exactly.
why I wanted
And
to
so-
make
but-
that
but-
point. But people
yeah.
weaponize that. See, people love being like, you're not a woman. And I'm like, yeah, cool, great point. I agree. And then where do they go? Because see, they're weaponizing it because they want to put us down. Like, you're not a real girl. You never will be. Yeah, I'm aware. I have a mother and 3 sisters.
Mhm.
Like, I'm well aware.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. And
Right,
I
and
love
that's
the
all
way
we're
I am.
asking, and that's
And
why
even
I
with
think
Rachel, to go back to your point, if Rachel wants to be that way, go ahead, girl, get your life.
That's what I'm saying.
But see, so it's not me being contradictory
Right, but it
because
would be-
the question is yes, I feel she's costumey, but girl, get your life. If you want to do that, do it. But it always comes back to us being delusional, but we're not. We know we're not biological women. So it's
The reason why this matters so much, especially deeply for those of us who have kids and see what's happening in the school system, is because at the moment that you say that there is no objective reality, everything becomes possible. And some people hear that and they're like, yay, Disney World, everything becomes possible. But the reality is that if you say there's no such thing as a male and there's no such thing as a female, and anybody can decide what they are when they want. They can say, I'm a different race, I'm transracial, you know, I'm transsexual, I'm transgendered. Then eventually and very quickly, we will wind up at people saying that, and there have been examples of this, people saying that they're actually a different age. So you have a 60-year-old man, but it's not funny because this is real. But this is real. You have a 60-year-old man who is saying that he self-identifies as a 13-year-old, and these people go and they commit acts of pedophilia. This has happened, right?
And they have places. They have places where they go and be babies, and they
exactly. So and this is real. So this is all going to get added onto the LGBT. I don't view gay.
I don't want
that attached to our community.
But you said, okay. I don't have an issue with that term. I don't think it's a problem because at varying points in people's lives, your mental can get out of order. The issue when you don't acknowledge that it is a mental disorder and you instead just insist that like this is a normal thing and people are born this way means it becomes impossible to attack that person. Ideologically speaking, if you start making laws and saying this is real, then that guy who says I'm 63 years old and I believe that I am 12 on the inside, I never grew up, this is who I am, Peter Pan, send me to Neverland, and he molests another girl and he goes into the courtroom and he says, no, I'm 13. Objective reality is what I feel, right? It's how I feel on the inside. And I actually, Your Honor, feel that I'm actually 16.
That's against the law.
Now, here's the question.
But
here's the question.
But this is why we have to be a guard, and I'm speaking now on behalf of conservatives. We have to be a guard, and we have to say objective reality exists, okay? Objectively speaking, bipolar, it's a disorder. Anorexia, it's a mental disorder. Transgenderism, dysmorphia is a mental disorder. These are all mental disorders, right? And
anorexia is a mental disorder. Being trans is not a mental disorder. So we have to stick to the facts. It is not anorexia.
So if someone
and
believes
schizophrenia
they're fat
is
and actually they're skinny, you say you have a mental disorder.
I got a good question.
But you're saying that you are a male, you believe you're a woman, and that's not a mental disorder.
I'm just being specific. Trans and anorexia, mental disorder and not mental disorder. The APA, you only have to ask the APA. These are trained psychiatrists. And I understand that conservatives all want to say that's to fill an objective, but at the end of the day, it is what it is.
Well, they just updated that manual in the last couple of years. Like,
yes, exactly,
because it was literally a mental disorder.
But it was misinformation, and conservatives in the past...
And someday they'll update that same manual and they will say that minor attracted people, which is a term that they're tossing around now because they're saying it's offensive to call them pedophiles, and we should instead call them minor attracted people. Someday they're going to push to update the manual then, which is why I insist on being a guard against that.